The city had been called eternal for centuries. Its roads stretched across continents. Its laws shaped millions of lives, and its armies once seemed unstoppable. Yet in the year 476, something quietly unthinkable happened. A teenage emperor was removed from power, not in a dramatic blaze of glory, but almost without protest. There was no final battle to remember. No single day of collapse, just the unsettling realization that Rome, the greatest empire the Western world had ever known, no longer ruled itself. For over 1,000 years, Rome had been at the center of power around the Mediterranean. From the small city-state founded in 753 BC, it grew into an empire that controlled most of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. By the 2nd century AD, Roman authority stretched from Britain to Egypt, binding diverse peoples together through roads, trade, law, and a shared idea of civilization. But size brought strain, and by the 3rd and 4th centuries, the empire was struggling to hold itself together. Before its decline became visible, Rome faced deep internal problems. Governing such a vast territory was extraordinarily difficult. Emperors rose and fell at alarming speed, often through assassination or civil war. Political instability weakened central authority, while corruption drained public trust. At the same time, the Roman economy began to falter. Heavy taxation burdened ordinary citizens. Inflation reduced the value of money, and the cost of maintaining massive armies and infrastructure became overwhelming. External pressure only made things worse. Rome's borders were constantly tested by migrating and invading groups such as the Goths, Vandals, and Huns. These were not mindless barbarians, as later myths suggested, but complex societies responding to their own crises, including climate shifts and displacement by other forces. Rome increasingly relied on foreign soldiers to defend its frontiers, weakening the loyalty and identity of its armies. The empire was still powerful, but it was no longer secure. The turning point came not with a single catastrophe, but with a series of decisions that reshaped the empire. In 285 AD, Emperor Diocletian divided Roman rule between East and West, believing the empire was simply too large to govern as one. The Eastern Empire, centered on Constantinople, grew wealthier and more stable. The Western Empire, ruled from cities like Milan and Ravenna, became poorer, less defended, and more politically fragile. This division, intended to save Rome, quietly set the stage for its collapse in the West. Over the following centuries, the Western Roman Empire lost territory bit by bit. In 410 AD, the Visigoths sacked the city of Rome itself, a shocking psychological blow, even if the city was no longer the capital. Then, in 455, the Vandals did the same. By the late 5th century, Roman emperors in the West held little real power. In 476, the Germanic commander Odoacer deposed Romulus Augustulus, the last Western emperor, and sent the imperial regalia to Constantinople. Rome's imperial rule in the West was over. The consequences were profound. Central government collapsed across Western Europe. Roads fell into disrepair. Long-distance trade declined, and cities shrank. Literacy became rarer, and political authority fragmented into smaller kingdoms. Yet this was not the end of civilization. Instead, it was a transformation. New societies formed from the blending of Roman traditions and local cultures, laying the groundwork for medieval Europe. One lesser-known fact is that many people living at the time did not realize the empire had fallen. Life changed slowly over generations. Roman law continued to influence local rulers. Latin evolved into the Romance languages, and the Eastern Roman Empire, what we now call the Byzantine Empire, continued to thrive for nearly another 1,000 years. In many ways, Rome never truly disappeared. The legacy of the Roman Empire still shapes the modern world. Legal systems across Europe and beyond are rooted in Roman law. Modern cities follow Roman models of roads, public buildings, and urban planning. Even the idea of a unified Europe owes something to Rome's vision of shared governance and identity across borders. When we speak of senates, republics, and citizenship, we are using Rome's language and ideas. The fall of the Roman Empire reminds us that no power, no matter how great, is permanent. Empires do not usually collapse overnight. They fade through choices, pressures, and adaptations that slowly reshape the world. If you found this story thought-provoking, take a moment to like and share. It helps these stories travel further. just as Roman roads once did. And if you're curious to explore more, moments where history quietly changed direction, there are many more waiting to be told.